gas station log. What is up, everybody? It is 5:11, and I'm just kind of sitting here thinking about some things, and I'm thinking about how impossible it is to live off of $8 an hour and afford the cost of living. And it gets me thinking. It makes me angry and frustrated. In the supposed greatest country on earth, it should not be this difficult to afford the cost of living. Right now, I'm living in a motel room, which costs me $160 a week. I make $200 a week. And as long as this continues, I am never going to be able to afford to get out. Because I've got no money that I ever get to save up. Because I gotta eat, I gotta keep gas in my car, and that doesn't even include the cost of insurance. It's times like these when I wish God would just send a meteor and destroy this entire continent. I would rather He take us all out and do something different than to let this crap continue. See, this is where, you see, there's a prophet in the Old Testament named Habakkuk, and I read that book a long time ago, and I remember I identified with this guy because he cries out to God, why do you let this tyranny go on for so long unchecked? Injustice is rampant. Wickedness is everywhere. And it makes me sick. I can't deal with it anymore. And the thing is God's response to Habakkuk wasn't ready for God's response. But, it being several thousand years removed, that we have the entire Bible to look back on. And we can see throughout history how God chooses to act. And I am not surprised by the worst that God can do. And here's something that I understand that David also understood, King David, man after God's own heart. He also understood that God's judgment is just, and it is right. God will judge rightly the way that people need to be judged. And you know what? I am no stranger to taking responsibility for people. Shoot, I'm the guy that picks up the slack that other people leave behind. Because it needs to be done. I am willing to accept judgment on behalf of our entire country if it means that God judges everybody. And David knew this because when he sinned and took a census of his armies and whatnot and whatever, God was like, hey, no, you weren't supposed to do that. And God took it very seriously. And he was like, all right, David, because I know that you're a righteous man, I'm going to give you a choice. You can either fall into the hands of your enemies. I can either deliver you over to whatever thing, I forget what the third thing was, or I will send a plague and wipe a third of you out. And David rightly knew that he wanted God to administer justice, not the hands of some enemy. Because he knows that God's judgment is right and it is righteous. I just know that it makes me sick to look at the human race, and people wonder why I have no faith in humanity anymore. I don't. I have zero faith in humanity. I have very little faith in Christians, and this is why. Because Christians are so divided and they look so much like the world. Can you even tell that they're Christians? Not to mention, it frustrates me to no end that there are so many different factions and so many different belief systems within Christianity. Oh, Jesus says that people should speak in tongues. No, Jesus says There's a time and a place for that, and even some people say that doesn't exist anymore. There are people that say, oh, we are gods and that we should, I don't know, it's just so frustrating. There is a single truth out there, and only God knows what it is. But all I know is I have to go by what Jesus has taught me, because he has taught me directly from himself, and God is not a liar. He cannot be a liar, and there are so many people that believe things that God has taught me are not true, which leads me back into it frustrates me, because I see things that are holding people back from knowing the truth of Jesus, and I can't, like that. I don't know how to deal with that, because people are... How can you say you're a Christian and want to be obedient and faithful to God when you're not even obedient and faithful to the truth about God? I don't know. There's so many things that frustrate me. Why do you think I just want to go home and be with Jesus? Because I've had enough. I'm ready to retire. Like, I'm not talking about, suicide or anything like that. I'm just talking about, like, I've done my bid for king and country. Can I please retire now? I feel like humankind, all they want to do is argue and debate and not come to agreement on things. And it would be one thing if people wanted to be taught, but it seems like everybody already thinks they know the truth, and they would rather argue it than want to be taught anything. Gas station log. It is 7:47. We're a jet. Woo! 7:47. Okay, so final thoughts on the day. Even if it's just me and Jesus, honestly, that's all I need. All I need is Jesus. Whatever situation you're going through, Jesus will be there for you. He is there for you. And he will be your best buddy and get you through whatever it is that you're going through. To all of you out there, Jesus loves you. Goodbye and God bless. Good night.